This week on the Dan Le Batard Show, the Miami Heat are Wiggin out. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Nasty Nate is back. I got the shades on. I'm in a shades kind of vibe right now. Because let me tell you why I got the shades on. And I got my Juan Wick shirt on. And we're going right off the top talking about the Miami Heat. Just like the Dan Le Batard Show did, talking a bunch of Heat on their first show after Game 7. And expressing their disappointment in one Patrick Riley and his failure to land another whale. And I gotta tell you, I am disappointed in the Dan Le Batard Show. Have you guys ever heard of a thing called culture? Aren't you guys supposed to be the upholders of Heat culture? And what? One historic worst playoff blowout loss in the history of the NBA has got you sworn off Heat culture? Now, all of a sudden, now you guys don't believe in Pat Riley? Mike, you birthed the Heat Twitter fan. You birthed it. You are the genesis of this. And what have you become? You're annoying to even Heat fans now with your, ooh, Pat Riley. Pat Riley can't do this. Pat Riley can't land another whale. What has Pat Riley done to deserve this treatment from you, Mike? Where is your belief in what Heat culture can do to the players that that Phoenix didn't take for Kevin Durant? We tried to give him Scary Terry. They weren't biting. We tried to give him Andrew Wiggins. We weren't giving up that 20th pick because we know what we can develop that into. Heat culture. I mean, I'm a Raptor fan, but I'm talking from Heat culture right now because this show's put Heat culture in me. And to hear the show just come out with the same rerun take of, oh, it's a failure, Pat Riley can't land another one, we're not giving up Haywood Highsmith. Haywood Highsmith is the next Aaron Nesmith. Within the Miami Heat culture system, Haywood Highsmith will become the Michael Jordan of Aaron Nesmiths. You heard it here first. And you have the mouthpiece of Heat culture, the Dan Le Batard Show, and they're just going on this big sad sack moan complaining about the Miami Heat and what their failure again. Do you not know what they're going to turn Wiggins into? We know what Ware's going to become. Jovic. Yeah, of course they don't want to give him up. Hero? Dog, Hero can get buckets, just not in the playoffs. And once Wiggins develops, this is a number one draft pick. Wiggins is a number one draft pick. You think no one else has developed him like Miami has developed him. Now he's going to have a Miami Heat culture offseason to develop his number one draft pick talents. We didn't need Cooper Flagg. We have Wiggins. We're about to wig out on the year, and you guys are all checking out the Miami Heat. They are going to go off, and the East is ripe for the taking. If they could get another scorer to complement Wiggins with his growth, another one like someone similar to like a KD, if they could add that to that team, you'd like their chances in the East if they could add a whale like KD. Now, they didn't get KD, but Wiggins is going to become KD 2.0. KD's old. And yeah, Pat Riley was a little bit tepid on KD. And do you blame him? KD is a culture vampire. That guy just comes into your organization, sucks it dry, and moves on and blames everybody else. Oh, somebody else, the fans wanted me to go, so I'm gone. Always somebody else to blame for KD. When you know what? What does KD need to get the job done? He needs a historically great team to put him into a championship winning circle. That's what KD needed. I don't want that a part of my team. I don't want that wrecking my culture. That's more of a culture wrecker than James Harden. You wanted that? You were going to give up Kella where you going to give up Bam? You're going to give up Bam for that? I'm not going to give up Bam for that. Hell no. I'm not giving up Hero. I'd give up Scary Terry. And I'm surprised they offered Wiggins. Like, Scary Terry, we're not giving up the 20th pick because we know we can develop it. Maybe some second rounders, 5 of them, just like the Houston Rockets. I mean, just ridiculous. Andrew Wiggins is going to go off. You heard it here first. Andrew Wiggins is going to become a top 20 scorer next season on the Miami Heat. He is going to take the leap, and he is going to realize his potential back from when he was a first-round draft pick of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh, let me polish off my drink there. Hey, how you guys doing? Been a little bit. It's summer, kind of crazy, trying to get episodes going here. But I needed to put the show in its place for what they did to my boy Pat and Heat culture. And Jeremy, I'm calling you out. The next time you're on the show, you need to put the Heat spin on this, because the show's spiraling out, all right? I've had more than one drink before this, all right? Washing dishes. Anyway, hey, I'm officially a Panthers fan now. I've talked about this. It's been a while. If I follow hockey, it's only because of the Le Batard Show. And so I watched the Panthers. I watched the Panthers lose twice to the Tampa Bay Lightning in playoff series and get blown out because of the Le Batard Show. And I still couldn't get myself to say, am I a Panthers fan? Because for all my favorite sports teams, when I pick them, I wanted to feel like I picked them because it was my choice, right? Like, my dad was a Minnesota Vikings fan. I didn't want to be a Vikings fan and just take the fandom of my dad. I wanted to find my own fandom, right? So I picked the Oilers because I liked the color of their jerseys, and then I stuck with them. I'm loyal. I'm loyal as hell. Straight up, I'm the most loyal fan of the Dan Le Batard Show. Represent. I'm more loyal to Heat culture right now than the Dan Le Batard Show, and I ain't even a Heat fan. I'm a Toronto Raptors fan. Heat losing to the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what I'm calling right now. But I'm a Panthers fan. I'm going to accept it because I finally wrapped my head around this. I like things to be unique. I consider myself a sports hipster. When people ask me, hey, Nasty Nate, I'm like, what up, dog? What's your favorite sports teams? The Tennessee Titans, the Toronto Raptors, and the Maryland Terrapins for all things college. They're like, you're born in California, right? I'm like, yeah, bro. I'm a sports hipster. I like Raptors because they're dinosaurs. Titans because when the Oilers, I love the baby blues. Best uniform in sports. And the Maryland Terrapins because I loved Juan Dixon. And one year, my 6th grade teacher asked me, who are you rooting for in March Madness? And I was like, you know what? I like Juan Dixon and the Maryland Terrapins. They lost that year, but the next year they won the NCAA championship. I was at a summer camp and I missed it, but I had my sister who was in 6th grade tape it for me, and I watched it when I came back. Steve Blake, the White Mamba, that team, I think it was Byron Mouton, Chris Wilcox, Lonnie Baxter. Woo, that was a team right there. Juan Dixon, they don't make teams like that anymore because those dudes all stuck around for a while. So I'm a Panthers fan because I wrapped my head around this fact. It's a unique story to tell someone, hey, who's your favorite hockey team? The Florida Panthers. How'd you wind up there? Well, I listened to a sports podcast, and that's who their favorite team, and that's who they talk about. So I can get behind that. But I say that now, but I'm not fully convinced. And for the last couple of years, I've been telling myself, I want to watch more hockey. Because when I do watch it, I'm like, this is exciting. This is fun. But I just don't get, and in all honesty, I don't get to watch as much sports as I used to. Because I have 3 kids, man. I don't get how people get to watch sports like they used to. The ways I watch sports now are I get to have it on my phone with one AirPod in, and I'm not really watching it. I'm listening to it because I got to be watching my kids. I sound a little sad. I am a little sad. I miss being able to just sit down and watch sports like I did back in the day because I love sports. That's why I love the Dan Le Batard Show. That's why I do the Fan Le Batard Show, because I love sports. Sports are great. They're fun. They're exciting. And the Le Batard Show opened up that they're so funny. So I'm a Panthers fan now, and I'm going to try. You know what? Nasty Nate is going to try to watch more Panthers games. Woo, I am sweating because it is hot in this closet that does not have AC. So, there we go. And hey, guess what? Mike, I see you're coming around on Brad Marchand because you know you have to because the dude said he's going to sign for 4 more years. So, it's good to see that he came up with a take right now to spin it that Brad Marchand is going to be remembered as a Panther. Proud of you, Mike. Admit that you're wrong. Side note, God bless highlight, mini thing, Mike, admit that you've run the Cesta Cyclones into the ground. All right? I don't know if you're listening still. There's a little secret blurb here for Mike Ryan. I know you used to listen to some of this stuff, Mike. You and Chris Cody have run the Cesta Cyclones into the ground. You know who's the only franchise in Battle Court since they expanded to 6 teams to not make a 4-team playoff? The Cesta Cyclones, 3 years in a row. I don't want to hear you guys giving David Sampson any guff. I hope he gives it right back to you. And I still don't have my jacket. My next birthday is coming up in a couple of months. Maybe I'll get it then. Please. Sorry for being mean. You know you're my favorite. Anyway. Hey. Game 7. Man, I was so bummed by that Halliburton injury. I'd become a Pacers fan. And, you know, it felt like the show spent a lot of time just talking about arguing, like, should Halliburton played or not. They said, like, that's a straw man take. And they should have just moved on from it. They talked a lot about it. They said it was a straw man take, but they kept having the argument of, like, should he have played or not. I think we all, like, as sports fans, are like, we get it. He's 1 game away. Like, yeah, it's easy to... Mike was right. Mike, you were right about this. You nailed it. But then the show kept talking about it and pushing back against Mike. When Mike's right, guys, let Mike be right. Shut up and move on. All right? Because Mike was right. That's a straw man take to just look back at it. Because everybody knows Game 7, you're going to play. If you can play through it, he passed a stress test or a strength test before Game 6 that showed that at least doctors said he could play. Who knows what they do to get him there. But I was so bummed when that happened. He was playing well. It was a tight game, and it felt like it was over there. And the show mentioned, like Greg said, oh, they stuck around for a half and stuff. And I was like, man, I wish somebody, like, there's so many examples of this. Like, it's just, you knew it was over. I knew it was over when he got hurt. And even, I'll tell you too, like I thought for one, can they do this? Can they actually do this? TJ McConnell going off in the 3rd quarter, keeping them close. Like at 4, he gets them to like 4 points or something. I think it was like 68-72 or something. And he gets it close and you're like, can he actually do it? But in the back of your head, you know, like it's over because we've all seen examples of this. And probably the best example of this that I can give is when I think it was Amari Stoudemire and somebody else for the Phoenix Suns. Like maybe it was like Tim something. I don't know who got for the Suns when they got suspended and they couldn't play that Game 6 and they needed them because it was 3-2, right? And the Suns were up 10, I think, all the way until the 4th quarter. And what happens? San Antonio takes over in the 4th quarter. It happens a lot where you see these teams where something happens that lowers their talent pool, but they play harder because they know they have to. And they maintain this lead. But then when it gets to crunch time, the obvious thing happens. The better team that has the deeper talent pulls away. And that's what happened. And there's a point in Game 7 where I just knew it was over. And that was the point where I think maybe in the 3rd quarter, I think it was actually a 3-point game or something. But the OKC hit back-to-back threes. I think they hit 3 threes in a row, and they extended their lead to 9. Like somewhere in there, I think the Pacers hit a 3 to match them on one of them, but they extended their lead to 9. And the second it got to 9, and it was midway through the 3rd quarter, and they hit those threes, I was like, that's it. It's over. And they never really got close again until like Ben Mathurin made a little bit of runs. Shout out Ben Mathurin, microwave dude. But I was just so sad. And I got into this Twitter argument, and I've hardly been on Twitter. I got into a Twitter argument with this hater because I posted, because I was sad about the Halliburton thing. I wanted to see a great Game 7. I've loved this series. I've loved the Pacers run. For me, I think it's an all-time historic, great run that should be remembered and celebrated. And it sucks that they didn't get a chance to finish it off at full health. That Halliburton couldn't finish the game. He already wasn't healthy, but he could have finished the game, and it would have been like fine if he played the whole game. No one would have said, oh, but he had a calf strain, right? If he made it through and they lost, big whoop. But he was, and the fact that he was playing so great, 9 points. So anyway, I post like, man, the Halliburton, my tweet was something like, the Halliburton injury sucks. And I said it was like a historic all-time bad injury because he's on this historic run. And somebody who follows me, who's a Thunder fan, quoted it and listed off his point totals for the finals and said he's not having an historic run. So I got into this back and forth with this hater, loser Thunder fan. I got into this back and forth with him because he's hating on Halliburton. Oh, and I didn't say he said you're calling him Robert Horry. Like, no, I just said he had a historic playoff run, a historic clutch playoff run, which I don't think you can argue that. He's probably in the top 3, if not the number 1 for most game-winning shots in one playoffs run. Easily. I don't need to look up the stats on that. I can go from my own mind that the dude has had a incredibly clutch playoff run. That was super fun to watch. And they were a super fun team to watch. And this dude was out there hating on him, saying that I'm like, and he doesn't get it, but it turns out he's a Thunders fan. He's like, this is a bad, he keeps quoting my tweet saying, this is a bad look for this guy, capping and stuff. Capping, what a loser. Who says capping? Losers say capping. I'm fired up today, folks. This dude's a loser. You're a loser. If you follow me and listen to this, I got a message for you. Your team won, but you're a loser. You're one of those poor winners. You're a big-time loser, bro. That you can't... All I said was... I'm going to pull up my tweet. All I said was the Halliburton injury sucks. That was my main point. And that it was an all-time bad... It was a historic bad injury. And you can't name... Even today on the Le Batard Show, this dude listens to the Le Batard Show because he told me it's a prisoner of the moment, and you know it. That's Le Batard Show speak. Obviously, who follows me and is not a Le Batard Show listener. But anyway, the Le Batard Show asked, and the best they could come up with was Willis McGahee. Like, this is what I said. Halliburton injury sucks. Perhaps one of the worst injuries in sports history. I feel fine about saying that. He has been on a historic run. Again, I feel good about saying that, and to not be able to be on the court to finish it sucks. There's nothing wrong with that statement. And this dude who comes in and he quotes it, he lists that isn't a historic run. So I comment on it and I say the game-winning shots dolt. He easily had an all-time clutch postseason. And he said, you only see single shots as historic or noteworthy. Thanks, dolt. Imagine taking the entire play of an athlete, only single shots, and claiming their legacy. That's not what I did. And then I said, imagine listening to the scoring totals of the finals and ignoring the entire playoff run and the time in which those points were scored, idiot. Tweeting of an idiot. Imagine trying to crown him as Robert Horry. I didn't try to crown him as Robert Horry. I just said he was having one single historic run, which, by the way, if he stays healthy and he beats the Heat, one of the top 10 best records all time in regular season of history, he would cement his legacy as one of the great single champions in the NBA history, right? The Pacers would be talked about like the Detroit Pistons are talked about for beating the Lakers, right? It's been 20 years plus since that happened with the Pistons upsetting the Lakers, which no one saw coming. And the Pacers would be on par for that. A historic upset that people would talk about. Easy. That would cement his legacy. And this guy's like, imagine trying to crown him as Robert Horry, but he and his 7 rings aren't walking through the door with Halliburton. Most historic injury is theater of the moment. It's not it's Game 7. Game 7. You have your star. You have your star player. Like I said, name another season-ending injury in a Game 7 or other finals format that took out. He's like, you sound very bitter and capping. Again, capping. Loser language. How old are you, bro? Am I arguing and going back and forth with a child who talks about capping? What a loser you are for bringing up capping. I don't say capping. I don't cap because I don't know what that shit is. I'm an adult, bro. I talk facts. I spit facts. And this dude is a loser winner. And I told him OKC's a deserving champ. It was a historic run. 4th most wins in a season ever. I was just trying to say Halliburton's injury sucked. And you had to hate on it. Like, I remember, I'm a Raptors fan. I know about injuries. I remember, you know what? I'll be honest, guys. Hey, secret. This is going to be really quiet on the podcast. When Kevin Durant got hurt, my first reaction was I cheered. I feel bad for that. And that's what if you remember when Kevin Durant went down, Raptors, there was a cheer. You could hear it. When Halliburton got hurt, shout out OKC and their classy fans, except for Joshua Toney. He's not classy. He's a loser. Shout out OKC for their classy fans. Like Amin has talked up OKC on Oddball and the alley-oop and all this stuff. And I'm impressed with OKC's fans because they didn't cheer when Halliburton went down. When KD went down against the Raptors, there was like a raucous cheer, if you remember that. Bad look, bad form, but you could understand it. I even did it. And then after I did it, I was like, ooh, feel bad for cheering. I'm sorry, KD. But that dude a loser. And now I have a preemptive take about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Everyone's always like, can this team be a dynasty? And this is what I want to say. Usually people, when you win a dynasty, it's like 3 titles in 5 years. And this is what I'm going to say. If the Oklahoma City Thunder win back-to-back titles, if they win next year, it doesn't count in my personal record book. This title's fine. I think even though Halliburton went down, there's no asterisk. Excuse me. This was a great team. Okay? Deserving champ. Despite the Halliburton injury, no asterisks. And I think you can talk about them as even an all-time great team because they're so young and stuff. I think there's a lot of great things to like about this OKC team. That being said, my preemptive strike against the Thunder fans and this dynasty talk is if they win back-to-back, it's not back-to-back in my playoff book because the East is decimated. No Jason Tatum, no Halliburton, no potential rematch. Like, the Pacers are not going anywhere next season. The Celtics not going anywhere next season, although they just made that trade. Like, Giannis, again, Dame time, he's out. Everyone's in shambles, which is why the Heat, they're going to make a run next season. But if OKC makes it back to the finals and it's a repeat, doesn't count. Does not count in my personal record book. Stu, you can take that as long as I get 80 my way, 20 your way. You can put that in the Stugotz personal record book too. Speaking of Stugotz, I think we have more about it's, you know, I talked a lot about this. My whole episode last week was about Stugotz, and one, I love Stupidity. I love that he's putting out this extra content, but I'm just sad because it looks like to me that there's a genuine fracture in the show. Like I did that live with Stugotz, and I'll tell you, I overreacted to it, and the show did all this stuff. But actually, going back, I think my reactions to it are now valid and just. Like, they're extending Zaslow. Why is that happening? And then Mike and his tweet and everybody and Chris Cody and all this saying, like, oh, it's going to be the same with Stugotz. And I'm here to tell you, it's not the same with Stugotz. It just isn't the same with him anymore because you know what, like back in the day you used to know Stugotz was going to be on Monday. It feels like he's never on Monday, and now weekend observations are gone. It's not a Dan Le Batard Show thing. And it's interesting, he did weekend observations once, and if you noticed, I think he did something else 1 week, and now 2 weeks in a row it's been, which has it been going on this long? I don't think it's been going on this long. So I think he did it once, and then twice he's done we can observations, which, why is that happening? Is that because there's a little bit of like, hey, weekend observations is a Dan Le Batard Show intellectual property. You did it on our show. You can't do it on your podcast. So, and I talked about the last time I did this episode, are we going to get like a half and half? And it's like, guess what? The weekend observations are gone from the Dan Le Batard Show. And that hurts a little bit. Because again, part of what's so great about the weekend observations is the reactions of others. But I will say, like, the most recent one, I love Adnan is a great partner for weekend observations. I think it is funny that they chose Adnan too, because it's like, although now I think he's like, Adnan, does he actually do that? I listen so fast and I don't focus on the start of it. I catch all the jokes in him, like he's still, but it's like, what's funny is Stugotz is kind of like preempting the contradicting of himself. He's saying things and then he's laughing about, oh, I just said something different. And then Adnan's laughing on top of it, which I like the vibe that's giving off. But is that manufactured where it feels more genuine on the Dan Le Batard Show when someone's like calling him out on it? He's like calling himself out on it. A lot of fans talking about who's doing it better. I'm not talking about who's doing it better. I like both content. I'll listen to both content. I'll support both. You know me. You know how Nasty Nate be. I'm just sad. I'm sad because I think there's to me, with this continuing going, there's a genuine fracture on the show. Like, we're never getting, and I think now the take, I was like, is this the new normal? I said the thing of like, there's two things that could happen. This is the new normal for the Dan Le Batard Show, or like they won't be a partner again. But it's like, I also made this take, like the Dan Le Batard Show as we know it is over. And I feel like that take now within a couple weeks is validated. The Dan Le Batard Show that I grew up listening to, and grew up. I say grew up. Oh my gosh. I mean, I've been listening to it for 10 years, but I didn't grow up listening to this show. I was a fully formed adult when I started listening to this show. But the show that I've cut my teeth on as an adult and listened and love and still love today, love it a bunch, is gone. It's no more. It's different. I think it's still good. I still enjoy it, but it's not the same. Like, Stugotz is a side piece. He's a Greg Cody of the show now. He is not. It's officially like, basically what's happened, Stugotz is, the with is official now. They've had a joke of like Dan Le Batard and Stugotz. It was always Dan Le Batard with Stugotz, but when me and you heard the show and we listened to it and we loved it, it was really Dan Le Batard and Stugotz. And we knew the with was there, but we knew it was always with and Stugotz. It was both of them. Now it's Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz when he's there, right? And it's not the same. And it feels sad. And like, you'd like to think, like, Stu not getting supported by Dan and Meadowlark and being cut off, I think is that. And it's like, Dan does this for Pablo. He's done this for other friends of the show. And it's like, you weren't going to do this for Stu? I want to know more about it. Like, why did this happen? Because it's like, I don't know. I'm a little bit sad about it. These are my feelings about it. I still love the show. I'm going to keep listening again, no matter what. That being said, Game 7, back to Game 7 take. Game 7 ends. What do? I go to YouTube. I'm going to get some of this alley-oop. I want to hear what people are going to have to say about Game 7, put the win in perspective for OKC, talk about the Halliburton injury, and the Le Batard Show doesn't go live. Maybe they tweeted about it. I didn't bother to comb through all the social media to see if they announced it, but no Game 7. And like, every once in a while, the alley-oop, like it did, they just disappeared and weren't there. And during this whole run, like, Amin's been at the finals games. Oddball has been inconsistent during the finals. This is the biggest time of the NBA season. And if you've listened to Oddball, you've also noticed Oddball has cut down on his time significantly. This used to be a 25 plus minute show, but suddenly during the playoffs or something, and is this the new Oddball going forward? It's now like 18, low 20, like not even as much, but this is the biggest time of the year. And even the week before the finals, like they didn't even preview it. They did some, and it was really short shows. And it's like, I love the Le Batard Show, but is the show still hungry? Or are they resting on their laurels? Because you know what I did, actually, you guys? You know what Nasty Nate of the Fan Le Batard Show did? YouTube put up on my thing, scrolling through, Bill Simmons. Probably because I watched the Pablo Torre thing. Bill Simmons was live. Bill Simmons, Zach Lowe, Ryan Russillo did a live post-game reaction to Game 7 and talked for like multiple hours. Like, Zach Lowe was there for an hour plus, and then I didn't even finish it because they just kept going because they started doing a draft preview, and maybe they were knocking out like Monday's episode to post on Monday. I don't know. I don't subscribe to that. But I listened to it for like an hour while I did the dishes and did some other chores and stuff because I had nothing else to do, and it was there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to it. And it's like, dude, does the show still want to grow its show? Like, Dan talks about how they're this big, huge thing, but there's these, you're in sports, and if you want to grow in sports, the thing about it is you got to be first. Sports is about being timely. I've grown a small following here with the Fan Le Batard Show, and what I have learned is, especially with football, not so much with the other sports, big time with football, so the show puts more there. If you want to see growth and get views on YouTube, you have to do timely responses. So doing things like a live post-game reaction is a high leverage, like, growth point. And for the alley-oop to not be there after like a Game 7, like what happened there? That's not happening. And Dan you have so many people working with Meadowlark, like what is happening that falls through and nobody can step into the gap? And even like with Dan and Stu, like they're not doing these things, but like Bill Simmons is, like, I guess Bill Simmons is still hungry. Ryan Russillo is still hungry. They're doing these live shows at high leverage times. The Le Batard Show has more subscribers on YouTube, but it's 231 to 229. And the Bill Simmons YouTube channel had 26,000 people watching along live. Like, overall, that live video probably did some big numbers for them. I'm guessing over 100K total views. And if you watch the Le Batard Show live, they're like, man, I think peak I've seen them live is like 11K for something like this. Back when, like, I don't remember what the event was, but when Dan got a bunch of people together, it was like Michael Wilbon was on for a long time, Jamel Hill. I can't remember why they were all on together. Like, that one got pretty high up there. But there was a high viewership, like 10%, 10% of their subscriber number. Not that it was all subscribed people. I'm not subscribed. But I was there watching. 26,000. I don't think I've ever seen the Le Batard Show live with 26,000 people watching them live. But that's the potential of doing something live, and it's like you kind of need your main guys to do it. And Dan's rarely done that, but it's also like you got all these younger guys, like, you could still grow. You could still do this. Like, you could start it off with Dan for 10 minutes and give it off to younger, newer voices, Fuentes. I don't care. If you want to just grow the channel, like, do some things that are live and timely. The fact that they didn't have a live Game 7 post-game reaction, that's a big missed opportunity and a chance for growth in viewership. Like, I don't know. I'm a grinder. Like, I've been making a bunch of videos. I'm sitting here talking 10:30 at night, and I'm probably going to cut up a bunch of more shorts. and I had a tragic fail the other day on my YouTube channel, but I'm growing this channel. I get over 1 million views a month now on my I get more views than Oddball. I get more views than Pablo Torre with my shorts, which is kind of like this. I know they're more official channels, and I kind of go like, okay, what I'm doing, like strictly speaking, like I'm not like, is there this shorts, like there's a shorts monetization policy? I don't fully understand it, but I never get in trouble for anything, but I show sports clips. I take out all the sound. Sometimes I put the sound in if it's a broadcaster doing something. People love when broadcasters jinx a team or predict something, or broadcasters just being funny. People love that stuff. But I just take out the sound and I make commentary, try to make something funny, or I just do something like, oh, wow, this is worth your time seeing. This is an amazing play. And they get views, lots of them. And I make them really, really short. So they get longer watch time percentage. And I game the system that way. And I've grown this channel by a couple thousand subscribers this year alone, and make a couple hundred a month doing that. And it's like who's a person, this is something I've thought about for a long time but haven't said, who could take advantage of this, who is the take king from the Le Batard Show? It's Stugotz. If Stugotz wants to make short videos of takes that are about current sporting events when they happen, make your take, make your short video with your take. Stugotz is great at making a unique take, and that's what gets you views. When you make a unique take or something that's a controversial take that people will argue with you, it's going to get views because people are going to be commenting, people are going to be watching, and they're going to get engagement. When you find that spot, it leads to growth, and it gets you viewers. And the show could be doing this. If you look at other YouTube channels like Mina Kimes too, she has a YouTube channel. It's not that big yet, but she'll just have shorts that you can tell she's just made it on her phone, right? So, and they do great numbers when she does them just on her phone, outperform the Le Batard Show shorts and stuff. But that was something where I'm like, man, they've got a lot of people working for them, and they did Meadowlark, right? It's not the Dan Le Batard Show. This is where my kind of like, it's weird. There's another week where there's like a bone to pick with the show kind of thing here. Again, love the show, support, but this is something I've noticed. They miss out on opportunities because they're not always taking in sports. And if you look at like sports, you're on YouTube. Sports, it ain't that. Like, there's other things that get you more views than sports on YouTube. But if you want to get views on YouTube about sports, you better be first. You better be timely. And that's not the Le Batard Show. They're not first. They're not timely. They wait around. But you've hired all these people, and you say you've got all these people that want mic time. Hey, give them mic time. Let them run YouTube lives that are timely, that leverage big sporting events. And they don't have to be professional. Like Bill Simmons, Ryan Russillo, Zach Lowe, they were all at home. They weren't in some studio. The lighting on them was crap, but they had 26,000 people watching them. And that could be the Le Batard Show too, doing it timely with however many employees they have, because they're not just the Le Batard Show. They're Meadowlark, right? Mike Ryan was on this show and told us we launched not just the Le Batard Show attached, but Meadowlark, this bigger thing, so we could have jobs outside of Dan Le Batard. Okay, so then grow that, right? And give the smaller people that you say want a voice, let Juju do all that stuff, right? Let Ethan do something live about hockey or whatever he wants. Let Fuentes run some lives and let him talk, right? And if people will watch, people will watch. And guess what? Maybe new people will come in and they'll watch, and you will get some subscribers. Every subscriber matters if you want to grow, if you're trying to grow something that's going to outlast the Dan Le Batard Show. Anyway, which brings me to my last point. What's up with the club? And now I'm looking at the time because I've told myself I want to bring back the club this week. It feels like a perfect week for the club of, I think it was two summers ago, because the summer where the Florida Panthers lost to the Vegas Knights in the Stanley Cup, that whole summer, I had again, summer off, not doing anything. I made a club almost every single week, I think, in the summer. It was a huge task because I'd listen to the show, and then at night I would listen to the show again on YouTube, and I would pull clips, and I'd gather all those clips, and then usually on Thursday I would put it all together, right? And I was like, man, this feels like a great week to do the clip, because why? You have all these clips of the Panthers celebrating in clubs, right? It's just this great visuals, and it's funny stuff, funny videos. And I bring this up because I'm kind of like, what's up with the club? Like, I may make a post on the Reddit about this, because I've been watching, I've seen all the clubs that they put out on YouTube, and sometimes I forget. They don't always mention it. Like this week last week when they did the club, like they played the music and they played like, I think one sound and that was it. And they were just talking over the music. And then the week before that, they didn't even have the sound. It was like they had to scrub the sound or something. Like maybe for whatever reason they got tagged for copyright and had to scrub the sound and re-upload it, because the audio all of a sudden dipped out. Probably the second they started playing the song. Something happened. But there's been these clubs also where like you go and you see, and it's these like 9-minute videos. You're like, okay, but the club ends up being like 2 minutes long or something really short. And maybe this is revisionist history and stuff of like, I feel like the club in the past when it was on the podcast was longer than 2 minutes, but it's been like, for the most part, super short on YouTube. And the thing about it is also with the new EP, the club just feels like, here's a couple good sounds from the week. We're just going to get through them. And what a good club in the past would do is the sounds would interact, right? Dan would be like, oh, show me what it'd be like if so-and-so was talking to this person in the club, right? Dan would set the vibe. Dan's like, I don't think is Dan ever really, like, he's hardly been there now on these clubs. Mike's in and stuff, and like the club is kind of like Mike's baby. Mike's not the executive producers. Billy had a great club, like I think a year ago when there was the great week of Pablo, Dominique, and others. I thought about making a club that week. But the club, the last couple of weeks, it's like, man, they just play these sounds. There hasn't been a club. Like the club was something where like every fan of the Le Batard Show, you'd be like, dude, let's get to the club. You'd have to listen to it live, right? Because it wouldn't show up on the podcast and stuff. And it was worth your time. Right now, it's like, I watch it and stuff, but it's not, I hate to say it, it's not worth my time. It's hardly played. You're just getting through these sounds. It's not really, I'm barely getting any sort of like nostalgia for the week reliving, and the shows aren't really interacting in a way. And it doesn't seem like the people listening to the club care, right? Part of the thing that you love about the club was hearing how people react to the sounds, right? And so part of me hearing that, I thought to myself over the weekend, I was like, when I watched that new club, I was like, I kind of want to bring it back, because if they're allowed to do Debbie Deb and they have this, I think a better format for the club is you have somebody who's your video editor do what I did and put together a video club. I don't know if you can do that. Does that thing qualify as a music video? Are they able to use the Debbie Deb sound because they're doing it like live together, talking, playing sounds over it? If they actually construct like clips that they play back and forth, like what I would do is I would cut clips. I'd have the Debbie Deb music, I would play the clip of the audio, and I would go through it, and then I would bring sounds back and they would interact with each other, and I'd try to tell a story about the week with the best sounds and have sounds like connect and lead into another and then go back and forth with it and bring back an old sound that you'd already heard, right? They don't really do that ever anymore. They just get through the sounds, and it's a handful of sounds. It's like either they don't have anybody that wants to like clip and pull sounds for the clubs, but honestly, the club's been disappointing. I'm going to keep listening and all that stuff. And I don't know. I sit here and I stare at my clock and I'm trying to get more sleep. And I know that if I try to do this, I'm going to have a whole week of like no sleep. Basically, if I try to do this, and it's also going to limit the growth that I've been talking to you about of being timely, making shorts on timely sports things. But it's something I want to do because today's show was a great show and it has so many great things that could fit in. The Panthers, Bobby, right? You play that sound, you put that sound into the video. You cut the actual video. You cut the actual video of Sam Reinhart playing. And, like, you're a visual thing. Like, Sam Reinhart's thing is on his Instagram. Like, you can't play, like, the actual video of it. Is it because the sound? You realize, like, with about 5 minutes worth of work, you could record the video. You could then take the audio. You could export the audio, and then you could drop that audio into some free sound removing thing, and you could remove the sound from it. And, like, that's all it, but, like, I talk about that. I think about all that stuff that I'm going to do. And, you know, back in the day when I did this, I would get, like, oh, man, I think one week, how many video clips I had. And I created one club that was 15 minutes long, you guys. Crazy. And it was, you'll have to scroll way back on the Reddit, J. Eves Point. Find me on Reddit, follow me or whatever, and go back through my posts, and you can see them because that's where they still live. If you go on my Reddit, it was something like over 100 clips from 1 week or whatever. I don't think I'm going to get that high if I do it this week. But that's something I'm thinking about. I love the Le Batard Show. Fans, let's keep supporting and listening to the Le Batard Show. Catch it when it's live. Encourage them, like, subscribe to them. Tell them they're doing a great job. I think they're doing a great job, even though I've actually, 2 weeks criticized. I don't like that. I don't feel good about it. I'm a fan of the show. I love the show. Billy Girl's great. Mike's great. Chris Cody's great. Although Chris Cody not looking great on the elbow room take that you did today. Roy stepping in as EP. Hey, is Roy the new, like, more full-time EP? He's been doing it feels like, more than Chris Cody. And you know what Roy does more than Chris Cody does? Is he works sounds into the show. Chris Cody doesn't really do that. So, Roy, keep doing what you're doing. This is Nasty Nate. I'm out, folks.